name is Lee Doherty, and I'm the Executive Director of the Literacy Network of South Berkshire, known locally as LitNet. Welcome to episode 2 of our monthly cable show here on CTSB. The title of our show is The Literacy Network Presents. What do we present? We present stories of the people who are important to us. Today's episode features Roselle Chartock, LitNet board member and local educator. She will be interviewing 2 of our learner-tutor pairs. I hope you'll enjoy hearing their stories of their relationship, how they've worked together during this pandemic, the goals that they've been able to achieve, and just really get a sense of the important personal relationships that they're able to have together. We continue to be in need of tutors, so if you're interested in becoming a tutor, please reach out to us at info@litnetsb.org, or if you know someone who's in need of an ESL/OL tutor, support with their GED, or support towards their citizenship path, we're here providing free tutoring, one-on-one tutoring for anybody who's in need. So thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to the Literacy Network of South Berkshire Presents. My name is Roselle Chartock. I'm a board member of the Literacy Network, and today's program is a very exciting one. We've brought together 2 pairs of people, a tutor and a learner, and another tutor and learner, and we're going to learn a lot about what they do. So let's start with introductions. I want to welcome John Camby, who is a learner, and I want to introduce Neil. Where are you, Neil?
Here I am. Hi.
And Neil Fox, who is the tutor and works with John. And then there is Janice Friedman, who is a tutor, and her student is Claudia Vijamil. Did I pronounce that correctly? Is it Vijamil?
Yes,
that's
nice.
Yes. Okay. Well, welcome, and let's just get going because I have a few questions, and I know the audience would like to hear your answers. The first question is a very simple one. It's for all of you to answer, and that is, what led you to the Literacy Network? And we can start with Neil.
Well, I would say a few things. First of all, my career has been in communications, and communications and literacy go hand in hand. And from a very personal point of view, my mother, her sister, and her brothers came to this country from Poland in the 1920s. My sister never learned English. And I observed as a child the struggles she had trying to adapt to life in the United States without the ability to read and write. So I visibly understand what it requires to transition to another country, to build a life there, to build a community, to raise a child. And the very core of it all is literacy. And I guess another piece for me is I spent 17 years on the executive committee of an organization called Outward Bound, who's largely focused on using experiential learning by experience, as an educational tool. So it's surrounded my life for many, many years. I started a sailing school for disadvantaged children and used experiential learning to teach STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. So I've had a lot of my life associated with education.
Fascinating, really fascinating background, and you certainly come equipped to be a tutor. And so I would love to now hear from Janice, another tutor, and what led you to Literacy Network?
Well, a couple of things also. I was investigating doing some kind of volunteer work when I heard about LitNet. I spent my professional life as an educator, Most recently, and for 15 years or more, I was director of libraries and instructional technology for a school district. So a huge emphasis in my professional life was connecting learners with resources and with reading and conversing. And I love working with people, and I thought this would be totally in keeping with my interests, and I wanted to give back and do something meaningful. So that's where I came from.
Thank you, Janice. It's wonderful. And now, what led you, John, to the Literacy Network?
Thank you, Roselle. When I came here was 16, 15 years ago. I had a goal on my mind, which was improve my English. So that was my main target since today. I mean, since that day till today, because we got this beautiful chance that life gave to me to here in this country. So I was aware, okay, John, you are there, so you need to improve your English. And that's exactly what I'm still doing. I'm doing my best in every step that I'm doing every single day. And thanks God, I got a great, good teacher, good tutor as Neil is to me. And also he's a great person to me. And so thankful with Neil. And wow, this is amazing to me, really.
Thank you. That was really fascinating, because I think it's clear that what you needed, the Literacy Network was going to be able to help you, and I'm glad to hear things are going well. So now, Claudia, what brought you to LitNet?
Okay. My teacher recommended to me. Maybe I hear from Janice, my tutor, and she probably got my name from my teacher at the Berkshire Community College, and no more.
Thank you. Wonderful. Welcome. So now I have a question for all of you. Again, this is an everybody question. And maybe we'll start with Claudia, we'll start with you. The question is, tell me and tell the audience what you remember about that first meeting that you had with Janice.
Yes, I remember my first meeting. We introduced ourselves to each other, and we showed pictures of our family. I met Janice's dog, and Janice met to my husband, my daughter, and my both parents. I talk here about myself, where I'm from, and where I live. We touch about how we will spend our time together. We read an article together, discuss, and then I remember my first article with Janice. It was about the giant panda.
That's great.
Yes.
Janice, is that your memory of the first meeting? How did you see that first meeting?
Well, I mean, I guess even though I've been an educator, librarian, and technology professional for my entire career, I was still really nervous about what to do and how I would be received. I had prepared by talking to one of my friends who had more experience tutoring, and I read the tutor handbook, thanks to Lee, which was really helpful. And I familiarized myself with various online resources like News for You, and I was ready to share all that with Claudia. We spent our first session in conversation where I learned about Claudia, as she said, and her family, both here and Columbia. And what I took away from that meeting was really how impressed I was with how motivated she was to learn. And any anxiety I felt about doing this evaporated as I got to know her a little bit better.
So it's natural. I think what I'm hearing from both of you is that it's very natural to have a little bit of nervousness, and then when you break the ice by becoming more familiar with each other, that next session is going to just hit the ground running, which is wonderful. Neil, what do you remember about the first meeting?
Well, I remember John being enthusiastic, somewhat reserved, meeting somebody new in his life. But I remember his enthusiasm. I remember his humor. Right off the bat, he was very warm and smiling, and that made me feel really good. I said, boy, I got a good one this time. And it was just a terrific first meeting, I thought.
John, what do you remember?
Well, what can I say? It was something so special, nice. It was so natural, trying to get a regular conversation, trying to know each other, how are you, how you doing? So, and we're so lucky, not everybody got this beautiful chance to get a tutor and trying to get the best from them. So that's exactly what I'm doing, trying to get the best from them. So advices, lessons, and yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. So it was a nice first meeting session.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I think both of you have expressed something about the goals that you had and why you ended up going to the Literacy Network and what you were seeking. But I wonder if you can isolate the major goal that you had. Claudia, what was the major learning goal that you had in mind when you approached the Literacy Network? Claudia?
Yeah, I don't hear good. Yes, nice. Can you repeat the question,
Yes.
please?
What was the most important learning goal? What did you want more than anything else to learn? What was the top thing you wanted to learn?
Okay. My goal is communicator better and learn more about conversation, improve my vocabulary, and practice my reading.
Sounds excellent skills to be looking forward to accomplishing. And so it seems to me that you really know exactly what your aims are, and that's great. And John, what was your main aim?
Okay. I have my bachelor degree in economics, so that's my goal in this country. In fact, I get my transcript for institute in New York City, so and economics here too. But I need to get better English to get a better job, so that is my main goal. So
It sounds like you and Claudia have a similar main goal. That is conversation, would you say? Being able to communicate better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, trying to get a combination of everything, writing, a better English comprehension, and as I told you, that's my goal. Try to get a better job in best of my knowledge in economics.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Good goals. Now for the tutors. Janice, what was the method or activity that you created to help Claudia meet that goal?
Well, what I understood about Claudia's goal was that she wanted to feel comfortable in her adopted country and improve her conversation and communication skills. So I thought the best approach would be to spend a good chunk of our time in conversation and then have Claudia read articles like in News for You. And then when anything came up that presented challenging concepts, I would open up a separate screen and I would show her, the phonetic pronunciation of different words, or we would visit a website that would explain something like for instance, we read something where Arizona was featured, and we went to a map, and I showed her where on the map Arizona is, and we would use Google Docs to Google Translate. If, there were times when I didn't understand what Claudia was saying, so we would, or she didn't understand what I was saying, and we would translate it into English, into Spanish, so she would understand. And basically, I use conversation as a springboard to resources and to learning that I thought would be helpful to her.
So the best way to teach conversing is to converse in the language that she wants to converse in. That's pretty logical. And Neil, what would you say was the activity that was most successful in terms of helping John?
Well, I would say a few things. First, I would say that John is a very motivated, advanced learner. And we have a somewhat of a formula together in our weekly get-togethers. We start every session, and I think this is somewhat common to what I've heard just now. We start with kind of catching up on what our lives have been, each of our lives, over the past week. And sometimes there's a lot of joy in that, and sometimes there comes up some challenges that either one of us have. And I think that the relationship has grown into a friendship. So we're pretty open with one another. The formula, in loose terms, is that after we talk about what's happened in the week past, we go over the words, the vocabulary that's been added each week. So we'll go over maybe a dozen words and how they're used in sentences. And we'll discuss those sentences, and we'll discuss the tenses involved in each of the words. And that takes up a reasonable amount of our time together. And then usually I will research that week before our lesson some article in the Times or some periodical that I think John and I would find interesting to talk about. That's ranged from issues like environment. We talked about an issue that happened in Boston about a statue of Abraham Lincoln with a slave kneeling below Lincoln, which became a kind of a controversial item in Boston. And we discussed why it was controversial. And every time we read those articles, and he'll read, and maybe I'll read, and we'll stop at a word to work on pronunciation. We'll stop on a word that maybe he and or I may not understand, so we'll look it up together. Mm-hmm. And that word will become an additional word for the following week's practice, so to speak.
I'm just gonna say one thing, that basically what I'm hearing from the tutors about techniques are, in my opinion, as an educator, some of the best techniques to use. And that, one thing that as a teacher, to connect personally with the student, I think is primary. That relationship is very important. And then to call up the kinds of skills, whether it's phonetics or whether using current events and using newspaper articles, these are living techniques. These are not techniques that don't work. These are the ones that work well because you're dealing with the here and now, and you're dealing with another person who you've already formed a relationship with, which is so important. So, it always puzzles me what, teachers going into a classroom for the first time to ask the students their names. And there are some teachers who never do that on the first class. So anyway, I think the skills that I'm hearing are just really wonderful, and they work. I want to ask another question of all of you, and I hope that we have time to hear the answers from all of you. And that is, if somebody came to you, let's say to the two tutors, and said, should I become a tutor with Literacy Network? And to the students, if somebody came to you and said, should I go to the Literacy Network and become a student? What would you tell them? Why don't we start with John? As a student, if somebody came to you and said, should I be a student at Literacy Network?
All right, I'll answer, why not? So it's the best chance that you get to improve your English. So if you're here in this amazing society as is USA, why not, learn everything about this country, especially, get better English to find better jobs, if that's the case. And, step by step, you can get goals in your life with English. Maybe you planning buy a house, trying to get different targets in life. But the main thing is, get good English. So definitely, I'm gonna say, don't doubt it. Go to LitNet. They're gonna help you for sure. Good people, great people, amazing people.
Great, thank you. And Claudia, what would you tell someone who asked you?
I recommend getting a tutor of people who come at this country with different language, because the communicated is the most important skill to learn.
Excellent, excellent. It is an important skill. It's
Yes.
step one, right? And Janice, if somebody asks, should I become a tutor? I mean, let's say that you don't know them at all and you don't even know what their skills are, if they have any skills to be a tutor. What would you tell them?
I would say, if you like the idea of connecting with someone who is eager to learn, if you're ready to be inspired by someone who is facing challenges that are so, can be so overwhelming, by moving to a new country, learning a new culture, leaving everything familiar behind, then I think you would be well suited for the challenge of tutoring and for the relationship that ensues as a result of the tutoring. That's really my favorite part, that I'm getting to know Claudia and really just being exposed to her experiences and helping her find a footing in this country is really wonderful to me. So yes, do it. That's what I would say.
The personal relationship is the most rewarding from
Yes.
your perspective.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
Thank you. And Neil, should they
Well,
become a tutor?
I would say from your student, you'll be taught. And I would go beyond that to say that there's an enormous gratification to knowing you're adding value to someone else's life. So I think it's very much a very selfish situation. To get the enjoyment that comes from learning to know someone, learning to know about their culture, watching them progress, building a friendship. And certainly John and I have grown into a friendship together.
That is wonderful. What I've heard all of you say is that it's a mutually rewarding experience. And at the same time, these relationships will continue to grow, and the learners will continue to learn, and thanks to the tutors who have given of their time. And I wish all of you well. All four of you have been splendid. Your answers have just been so, rewarding and encouraging. And I invite all of the listeners to consider being part of the Literacy Network. And I want to thank again John Cambry, Neil Fox, Claudia Villamil, and Janice Friedman for being excellent guests, tutors, and students. And I'm Roselle Chartock. Thank you so much for listening to the Literacy Network Presents.